Hello and welcome once again to Breakfast All Day. I am Christy. That is Matt. That is Alonzo. Our next movie for you is Body Cam, which is sort of like a Black Lives Matter horror movie starring Mary J. Blige.
Yeah, this is a movie I think that has ambitions that it doesn't ever quite pull off, but we'll get into that. So yes, Mary J. Blige is a policeman in a police officer in the fictional town of Swinton, Louisiana. And she's just coming back on after a lengthy suspension because she struck a civilian. And she's also dealing with the recent drowning death of her son in a neighbor's backyard pool. The first night back, there is a horrific murder of a fellow police officer that doesn't seem to make physical sense, and all the car cam footage and his body cam footage seems to disappear after Mary J. Blige looks at it. So she's the only one who sees what's going on, and she can't even explain what's going on because it's so otherworldly and supernatural that it doesn't make any sense. As the investigation continues, there are more strange murders, and it ties into a dark secret that the police force is keeping. The cast also includes Nat Wolff, who is not Alex Wolff, but his brother. They look really alike. I always forget which Wolf I'm looking at. This is the Wolf who is in Paper Towns.
And does not have the big mole.
Exactly. And it's directed by Malik Fatal, who's directed a few other things, specifically for Netflix, I think. And this is a horror movie that wants to sort of touch on ideas about Black Lives Matter, about police brutality, which is a cool idea. But this movie really kind of meanders, both in terms of its storytelling, but also in terms of tone, from being a horror movie to being kind of a policier to being this sort of character piece. And it doesn't really connect the dots very well, although it does have some cool ideas and a few individual scary moments that you have to wait a while to get to. Anika Noni Rose also is in the cast.
Yeah, Mary J. Blige brings a groundedness to what is a pretty insane idea. The thing that's actually going on here is kind of crazy, but you follow her as she's investigating it just because she connects so powerfully with the audience, and she just shows up and is Mary J. Blige. And as we saw in Mudbound, she's so good, and it's interesting to see that side of her talent come through in recent years. And there are some legitimately tense moments. They use quiet and darkness pretty effectively in some of the scenes at night, when investigations are going on as to what's really happening here.
There's a lot of Mary J. Blige holding flashlights and investigating things.
As you do when you're a police officer in Louisiana. Right. But I appreciate the ambition of it. I appreciate that it is trying to say something, beyond just cheap scares, that it's got a lot more on its mind. But yeah, the execution is a little spotty.
Yeah, there's certain things I like in this movie, like the set pieces, and when it's going for the scares, I think it works really, really well. The score I wanted to point out, the score by Joseph Bashara, who's done some of the movies. He did, I believe, The Last Conjuring, Annabelle Comes Home. He's worked with that crew for a bit. Insidious, The Last Key. This score felt at times like he was riffing on John Carpenter in places. And, for the horror parts it's trying to do, it's kind of effective. But yeah, it's this weird mix of things that it never quite comes together. And a little bit of me wonders, is it that, we've, on a certain level, it makes me think of all things, End of Watch, right? End of Watch, which I really liked. I liked End of Watch, and I think End of Watch does this thing where like the last half of that film, it comes off like a horror movie in places. And I'm not sure that, at the risk of yes, I know I'm going to sound really judgmentally and probably needlessly so. Yes, we're critics. Anyway, I don't know that you need to play up the horror of the elements around the issues that lead us to say things like Black Lives Matter by adding a supernatural element to it. I think I have to think that, you watch something like Queen and Slim, like the idea of just being gunned down randomly is horrific enough.
But I think it's okay to make that choice, though. I mean, like horror, a lot of times is trying to comment on real life stuff, but I think you have to sort of commit one way or the other. And this movie feels like the pieces aren't fitting together the way that they should have if this were sort of a cohesive vision. I don't know if this is like a studio notes issue, but
I mean, this is, we mentioned in our Lovebirds release, our review, this is the other movie set in Louisiana from Paramount. And, if I was living in Louisiana, I'm like, man, Paramount, what do you think's going on over there? But, the individual pieces, I think each, there's three different movies going on here, right? Like there's cops in peril, there's the Black Lives Matter element, and then there's this woman trying to move past, trying to
overcome personal tragedy
after her son has died. And I'm somewhat shocked in that the premise of this movie is so out there.
I gotta go run outside. Keep talking. Hold on.
Okay. The premise is so out there, and yet it's entirely predictable. Like that's the thing that's really maddening here. It's like, okay, so you're a cop and you pull somebody over, and there's, what seems like it's going to be this, general like crime thriller, like, oh my God, it's a horror movie, right? I mean, I have a friend who went into, for instance, if you go back and watch this, and anyone who hasn't seen this, go back and watch the first, say, 20, 30 minutes, maybe 40 minutes of From Dusk Till Dawn. But a friend of mine will go into Dusk Till Dawn cold, not knowing it's a vampire movie, right? And up until the time the vampires come out at that bar, you're watching a crime movie, right? But this movie, like, I'm just shocked at how predictable it ends up being, right? And everything by the end, I mean, as much as the set pieces are effective, like, it's just like the whole plot is so by the numbers, and that really takes away from me.
When it all gets explained, it's like, really? That's what it was? Oh.
And, well, I just found, like, you see that coming, the minute you see the video of her son, like, Mommy, your job is dangerous. You're like, well, okay. Right? It's just, which is frustrating because, again, like, there's elements. This movie could have really been something cool. And
it's like, did this script have too many drafts or not enough? But what we have now is just this sort of weird middle place where you're right. It is sort of torn between being these different kinds of films, and you could include all the things this movie wants to be under one cohesive umbrella, but they don't do it.
Okay, so what's your number? I'm saying 5.
I said 4. I think it's a real letdown, but yeah, I think Mary J. Blige is giving it her all. And I see the pieces here, I'm like, of what this could have been. And so it's all the more disappointing that they just don't know how to bring it off.
Yeah. I'd give it a 4.5. Okay. Yeah. This is that kind of movie. Like, man, I wish you had like done the festival workshop and gone back on this. And,
something.
So 4.5 is our number.
So yeah, well, hey, thanks for watching this video. Like it and subscribe to this channel here on YouTube, and check out our social media at BeFast All Day on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and visit our Patreon page at patreon.com/BeFastAllDay. That's where we've got lots of extra content for our subscribers, including TV recaps, special reviews that nobody else gets, all kinds of hidden gems that you'll really enjoy, I think. So thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.